Hey and welcome back. Today we're going to be doing a deep dive on the Earth Druid. This is the build I'm planning on playing on June 1st when Diablo 4 launches. So I've spent a tremendous amount of time fully carving this build out through its many seasons. Let me tell you, this build is a stone cold killer. It has consistently guaranteed critical strikes through landslides, terramotes, tons of bonus damage and crowd control, and rock hard survivability through Fortify, and eventually werebear passive skills. Now you might be wondering, what's the difference between this deep dive and the last Earth deep dive you did? Well, Blizzard made some major changes to aspects and skills, so this is the updated version and it's better than ever before with new synergies I found, and I can't wait to get started. So let's just dive right in, starting with the skills. Now we're going to keep Storm Strike, as it is pretty much the Druid's best basic skill. It's going to give us 25% damage reduction, and it bounces to 3 enemies, so we got some nice AoE. We're going to get Enhanced Storm Strike for 15% chance to immobilize. This is a big deal in the Earth build, as we'll see later on with terramotes and Landslide. Speaking of which, we're going to get 1.2 Landslide as our third ability, and then we're going to go back up and get Fierce Storm Strike, so that it has a 50% chance to make enemies vulnerable for 3 seconds, which is a 20% increased damage, which is awesome, and that chains to 3 enemies. Then we're going to go back down and get Enhanced Landslide, and then Primal Landslide. And Primal Landslide is a really key ability for the entire Earth build. It says when you immobilize or stun an enemy, you gain a terramote. Each enemy hit by Landslide consumes a terramote, causing a guaranteed critical strike with 40% critical strike damage, which is huge. Bosses always have up to a 10% chance to grant a terramote when hit. So the more you can stun or immobilize enemies, the more guaranteed critical strikes you have with Landslide. And this ability hits quite hard, so it's a very good ability to get. Now we finally unlocked the defensive part of the tree, and so we're going to get Earthen Bulwark. Gives us a barrier with 45% of our base life, which is nice. But more importantly, Enhanced Earthen Bulwark, it's going to make you unstoppable while active, and this is really important because bosses will CC you, mobs will CC you. You can't use potions when you're crowd controlled, and so this will free you from any effect a boss or a monster might put on you, and it's really great to escape those situations where you might otherwise die. Now we're going to do 3 points into Landslide, so 1, 2, 3, and that finally unlocks our our companion part of the tree. And the first thing we're going to get here is Poison Creeper. This is a skill that was majorly improved thanks to the Blizzard sort of balancing change made right before the server slam. This now does 90% damage over 2 seconds, which is a literal 3 times increase. Poison Creeper is crazy strong. We're going to put 1 point into this because this enhancement here, Enhanced Poison Creeper, increases the immobilization duration by 1 second. We actually don't care about this, and the reason this is such a good ability to synergize with Landslide is because it's an AoE when you activate it, immobilization, and that's going to generate as many terramotes as immobilizations occurred, right? So if there's 5 monsters around you, you activate Poison Creeper, you now have 5 terramotes from immobilizing all 5 of them, which means 5 guaranteed critical strikes from Landslide. So tons of synergy with Poison Creeper, Landslide, and there's even more, of course. We have that Storm Strike as well. So everything is going great so far. We're actually, so we're not going to get Enhanced Poison Creeper. We're actually going to get Nature's Reach. It says deal 3% increased damage to distant enemies. Double this bonus if they are slowed, stunned, immobilized, or knocked back. We already have 2 sources of immobilization, which is awesome. So we're going to get 3% increased damage, but it's actually going to be 6 because we double it. So we're going to get 3 points into Nature's Reach. 1, 2, 3. Now at this point, we're level 16, and you need to go to Skazglen to go do the Druid quest, which is called Spirits of the Lost Grove. This is going to unlock your spirit boons. It's also a great chance to pick up some aspects. So really quick, let's go over to the gear and skills section. Oop, clear that. We're gonna start over. And so what we're gonna do is we're going to get our spirit boon, which is going to be wariness. Take 10% reduced damage from elites. Now elites are anything that is a champion, an elite, other players, and bosses, most importantly. So they typically are going to do the most damage. So this is a fantastic spirit boon to take less damage from most likely the most dangerous things you're going to find in this game. Now, you're going to continue to level, do the campaign in Skazglen. After you complete your Druid quest, you're going to put 1 more point into Landslide, and then you're going to finally unlock the Wrath Tree, and immediately you want to get Trample. This was another ability that had its damage intensely increased, like I think it was like triple or something like that. it was over 100% increase, so at least double. And we want to get enhanced trample as fast as possible. It says here, trample deals 150% bonus damage. This bonus is reduced by 50% for each enemy hit after the first. So the way trample can really maximize its damage is twofold. Number one, you want to only hit one monster if possible, so that you get the full 150% bonus damage. But if you also look at what trample says, it says enemies who are knocked back into terrain take an additional 45% damage and are stunned for 3 seconds. So you're also going to get 45% bonus damage if they're up against a wall when you trample them. You're going to get that 150% bonus damage if they are the only monster you hit. And then you're also going to get a terramote because you stunned them for 3 seconds. So lots and lots of synergy with trample, and I think it's perfect. Now at level 18 or 19, right, which we are right now is the perfect time to go and seek out aspects within Skazglen. Now, I actually did put together a little guide. It's going to be attached in the description, but I'm going to give you a little preview here. I have a map that shows you exactly where on the map to find these legendary aspects. But this map is going to show you exactly the order, the location of each aspect. It's going to be a link in the description, and we're going to go through those in order right now. Number one, Crash Stone aspect. And Crash Stone aspect can be found in the stockades in Skazglen. We're going to put this in our weapon. Earth skills deal 40 to 50% more critical strike damage to crowd-controlled enemies. This entire build is based around crowd control. Right now we have stuns and immobilizations, but we're going to get even more. And when this is in a two-handed weapon, this is going to be twice as good. So this is 80% more critical strike damage to crowd controlled enemies. And remember, with terramotes, we're going to always have guaranteed critical strikes. Now, after we get Crash Stone aspect, we want to immediately go and get aspect of quicksand and put that in our boots. Damage from earth skills slow enemies hit by 25% for 5 seconds. The reason this is so good is because when enemies are slowed, we get bonuses from nature's reach, which gives us bonus damage, doubles the bonus damage if they are slowed. And it's also going to give us bonuses later on, but it also helps our Crash Stone aspect, right? We get 80% increased critical strike damage to crowd-controlled enemies, and aspect of quicksand causes the slow to be it is a crowd control. And then the third aspect we're going to want to get while we're in Skazglen is ballistic aspect, and you're going to put that in your chest. When you have Fortify, your earth skills gain +2 ranks, unlocked by completing Whispering Pines in Skazglen. And of course, quicksand is Pharaoh's Den in Skazglen, and then Crash Stone is actually stockades in Skazglen. And as you're getting these aspects, we're going to continue to get a couple different skills. Primarily, you're going to want to get Crushing Earth. Earth skills deal 5% increased damage to slowed, stunned, immobilized, or knocked back enemies. And the reason this is so good is because we just got aspect of quicksand, which says damage from earth skills slow enemies hit by 25% for 5 seconds. And so when you hit anything with the earth skill, they're going to get slowed, and then you're going to get 5% increased damage. So it's a really powerful synergy between aspect of quicksand and Crushing Earth. And we can also now get Safeguard. And the reason we want to get Safeguard is because of ballistic aspect. When you have Fortify, your earth skills gain +2 rank. And it says here, Safeguard, critical strikes with earth skills fortify you for 2% of your base life. And so now we've started to build Fortify in the build, and we're going to get even more Fortify. We're going to go back up and get Preserving Earthen Bulwark. Casting Earthen Bulwark grants 18% base life as Fortify. So that's gonna really help keep our Fortify up. And then we're also going to get Natural Trample. Casting Trample grants 20% base life as Fortify. So that's super helpful. We definitely have plenty of Fortify now, and we can also then get Crushing Earth again. So now this is 10% increased damage. And then we've finally unlocked our ultimate, and we're going to get Petrify. It says here, encase all nearby enemies in stone, stunning them for 3 seconds, you deal 25% increased critical strike damage to enemies affected by Petrify. Against bosses, the critical strike damage bonus is increased to 50%, and its duration is increased to 6 seconds. Used to be longer, so a little bit of a nerf, but still very powerful considering we have guaranteed critical strikes. And so turning those guaranteed critical strikes into increased critical strike damage on top of the aspect we got called Crash Stone, which causes earth skills to deal a lot more critical strike damage to crowd controlled enemies. And of course, the boss won't be crowd controlled, so we don't get a bonus there, but it's still going to do quite a bit of damage. We're going to get Petrify, and then we're going to go ahead and get another rank of Crushing Earth for 15% increased damage. And we're also now at this point probably probably headed over to dry steppes. We're level 26. And so there's a couple aspects to get in the dry steppes. So we're going to get aspect of might. We're going to put that in our pants. It says here, basic skills grant 20% damage reduction for 2 seconds. This in the dry steppes, the dark ravine, which is very nice. Then we're also going to get aspect of retaliation. Your core skills deal up to 20% increased damage based on your amount of fortify. And we just loaded up on tons of different things that grant us fortify. So this is really great. And we're also putting in our amulet slot so that 20% is actually 30%. So core skills deal 30% increased damage. So that's awesome. And then we're also going to get aspect of mending stone. You can get this from the sealed archives in dry steppes. The duration of earthen bulwark is increased by 6 seconds. In addition, killing an enemy with earth skills replenishes X of your active earthen bulwark's barrier. So this is just another nice defensive to help with your damage mitigation, and you're going to have earthen bulwark anyways. And by the way, increasing its duration by 6 seconds is actually huge because this skill only lasts a total of 3 seconds. Increasing its duration by 6 seconds is literally doubling, actually it's tripling the duration because it's going from 3 seconds to 9 seconds. So this is actually crazy, and you have to remember, I would say the main bonus of earthen bulwark is that you're unstoppable. So 9 seconds of being unstoppable is pretty awesome actually. So this is secretly a very, very good legendary aspect that you can get from the sealed archives and dry steppes. Now the next thing you're going to want to get in the dry steppes is aspect of the umbral. So let's go ahead and put that in our ring. Aspect of the umbral, restore one of your primary resource when you crowd control an enemy, unlocked by completing champion's demise in dry steppes. The reason this is so perfect is because we have aspect of quicksand. Aspect of quicksand says damage from earth skills slow enemies hit by 25% for 5 seconds. So this is super helpful for, synergy there, generating more resource as we continue along. Now we're also going to get aspect of retribution. We're going to put that in our gloves. This is unlocked by completing the abandoned mine works in Kyrgyzstan. So we've left dry steppes and we're headed to Kyrgyzstan. And so this is going to make it so that you deal 20% increased damage to stunned enemies, and you stun enemies with trample when they're up against a wall, and petrify is going to stun everyone for 3 seconds. And so you're going to get 20% increased damage while they're petrified, which is a huge bonus on top of the fact that you're dealing increased critical strike damage to them too. So kind of crazy the damage you're going to be doing with petrify plus aspect of retribution. Pretty crazy. Now finally, let's continue through the skill tree. We're getting closer to finishing off this build. We're level 26. The next skills we're going to get are, let's see here. We want to finish off Stone Guard here. When you have Fortify for over 50% of your maximum life, your earth skills deal 12% increased damage. We have tons of Fortify, so this isn't going to be a problem at all. We're going to want to get Defiance. Nature magic skills deal 4% increased damage to elites, and elites are champions, elites, bosses, and world bosses. So nice damage bonus there. And then we're going to get Natural Disaster. Your earth skills deal 4% increased damage to vulnerable enemies. That's the important part. And we're getting vulnerability from Storm Strike. Then at this point, we're level 31. We're going to get a very key aspect. This is found in the Belfry Zakara in Hawazar. We're going to get aspect of the Ursine Horror. Pulverize is now also an earth skill. After casting Pulverize, tectonic spikes continue to deal X damage over 2 seconds. Belfry Zakara and Hawazar. Now, once we get this, we're going to change our build a little bit. We need 3 skill points, so we're going to actually undo Natural Disaster, undo Defiance, undo Poison Creeper, and we're going to put them into Pulverize, Enhanced Pulverize, so that next Pulverize will overpower every 12 seconds while you remain healthy, and then Raging Pulverize. Enemies overpowered by Pulverize are stunned for 2 seconds, and so every 12 seconds, assuming you remain healthy, you're going to be generating terramotes just like you were with Poison Creeper every 12 seconds. Whereas Poison Creeper was actually every 20 seconds. So you should be getting almost twice as many terramotes by using Pulverize, which is now an earth skill thanks to aspect of the Ursine Horror. So this is where the build starts to change a little bit. And if you count our skills, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are our 6 skills, and we're going to stick with these skills for the rest of the game pretty much. I don't imagine changing any of them. They work so perfectly together. Keep in mind some synergies as well. Overpower is now guaranteed, right? Well, the way you're going to want to play this, because we have so much Fortify in this build, Fortify makes Overpower stronger. You're going to want to basically, when you have the Enhanced Pulverize ready, you might do something like Trample, which will give you 20% of your base life as Fortify. Then you're going to use Preserving Earth and Bulwark, right? Just use Earth and Bulwark. That's going to give you 18% of your base life as Fortify. So you're up to 28% of your base life as Fortify. And then you'll do a massive overpower Pulverize, which is an Earth skill, remember. But you will want to use Storm Strike as well before that Pulverize so that you can get that 20% increased damage. Okay, now that we did that, we're going to go back down and we're going to get Defiance. Nature Magic deals 4% increased damage. Now, keep in mind that Pulverize is not nature magic, so we only want to put 1 point into this. Pulverize is just an earth magic skill. It didn't get that additional tag. It's just earth magic. But we do want Natural Disaster, which says your earth skills, which includes Pulverize, deal 4% increased damage to vulnerable enemies. And so we are going to get that. So we're going to put 1 point into Natural Disaster. And we also, now that we kind of have a core skill that is a werebear skill, we're actually going to put points into Quick Shift. And I actually think this is the fastest way to make Pulverize and Trample both stronger. When a shapeshifting skill transforms you into a different form, it deals 15% increased damage. So Trample is disgustingly powerful, right? And so is Pulverize when you overpower. So if you do that combo, sort of how I was describing, I think that's going to be your most powerful combo. And both of those are kind of on a cooldown, right? Trample's on a 14-second cooldown, and overpowered Pulverize is on a 12-second cooldown. When you don't have an overpower Pulverize ready, just use Landslide instead and only use Pulverize when you have overpower ready to go. That's the way I'd recommend doing it. And it's going to be huge damage with Quick Shift. After that, I recommend finally, now that we're level 35 here, we can get Earthen Might. This is really great because Pulverize is an earth skill. It says here damaging enemies with earth skills has up to a 5% chance to restore all your spirit and cause your attacks to be guaranteed critical strikes for 5 seconds. This chance is increased by 10% for critical strikes and 10% if the target is stunned, immobilized, or knocked back. So this is super great. We're going to have this all the time, and restoring your spirit is huge. 10% for critical strikes. Terramotes make our Landslide always critically strike, and the target's always going to be immobilized or stunned pretty much all the time. So this will probably proc less than I think, but we'll see ultimately. I'm sure it's going to proc at least some of the time, and that's going to be really, really great when it does, getting all of your spirit back. Okay, so now that we got Earthen Might, we're going to go back and get more points into Natural Disaster. Now, as much as I love Resonance, which basically makes it so that you should weave between a nature skill and a earth skill, the problem is that you could get this, you honestly could, but I think I want to get something that will benefit Pulverize as well. And so speaking of Pulverize, I want to get some points into it. So let's pump up Pulverize, make it really strong, max it out, and then let's also max out Trample. I think those two are going to be very, very good. And then finally, let's put 2 more points into Safeguard for even more Fortify. And then finally, let's make our core skills stronger with Heart of the Wild and 3 points in Wild Impulses. Core skills cost more spirit, but deal increased damage. Then finally, I don't even think these skills are too good, but they're decent. Prime Petrify, make Petrify last 1 second longer. And killing an enemy affected by Petrify grants 25 spirit. I see Petrify, basically, you use this, it's going to clear the screen. Like, you just use Petrify, use Pulverize a couple times, because every time you kill a monster, they're going to give you 25 spirit, and they're going to be stunned, so you're going to get increased earth damage from Aspect of Retaliation, actually Aspect of Retribution, deal 20% increased damage to stunned enemies. It's not even just earth, so yeah, it's going to be pretty crazy, and you're going to have increased critical strike damage from this as well. Okay, so finally, now that we got this, we have 4 points left, and because we're weaving between Pulverize, Trample, and Human Form, right, using Earth skills and Storm Strike, Clarity is actually really, really good. Gain 6 spirit when transforming into Human Form. And so this is basically going to make it so that every time you use Storm Strike, you basically get 20 spirit, because it grants 14 spirit now, but every time you shapeshift into a human, it's going to give you an additional 6. And this also counts for other things. So let's say you're a werebear and then you use Landslide. You're going to turn into a human to cast that Landslide. So technically it's going to cost like 24 spirit, not the full 30. Sort of, technically. You still need the full 30 in order to cast it. You're just going to get refunded the 6 spirit basically when you transform into a human. And then finally we have 1 point left, and I imagine the game's going to get a little bit harder, so I figured we should do a defensive skill, Ancestral Fortitude. Increase your non-physical resistances by 5%. I think that's a pretty good talent, considering as you increase world tiers, your non-physical resistances are going to go down. So this is the skill tree. We've gone through it, and it's gone through some iterations. We had Poison Creeper, and then we lost it. We have nice bear skills: Petrify, Trample, Earth and Bulwark, Pulverize, Landslide, and Storm Strike. All very powerful, great synergies across all of them. I think this is a very, very solid setup that will change, though, a little bit later. These are all of our aspects, and all of them are guaranteed from dungeons, so they're the Codex of Power aspects. I think they're in the right spots, too. I think it's very, very potent right here. So our skill loadout, I'm just going to put it here. We want Pulverize, we want Earth and Bulwark, we want Trample, and we want Petrify, Storm Strike, and finally Landslide. This is our loadout. Spirit boons, we got wariness. We also want to get Iron Feather. The reason we want Iron Feather is because we're pretty much an overpower build, and overpower is the sum of your maximum life and your fortify together as bonus damage, which is huge. And so more max life means more powerful overpower in addition to being more tanky. And that's really a reason I really love this build, is because like you being more tanky makes you deal more damage. And I think few builds actually do that, which is why I think this build will be able to clear any content, because it really has the defensives in place. We also want to specialize in the Eagle Spirit Boon and get Avian Wrath for 30% increased critical strike damage. Landslide with a terramote will always crit, and so increased critical strike damage is huge. For the Wolf Spirit Boon, we need to go ahead and get Bolster. Fortify for 10% of your maximum life when you use a defensive skill. Perfect synergy, defensive, and also makes it so that you deal more damage with overpower. And then finally, we want to get Obsidian Slam. Every 10th kill will cause your next Earth skill to overpower. So now we have two sources of overpower. And just imagine a Landslide overpowering, how much damage that will do. Absolutely insane. It's I can't even imagine. I can't wait to see the crit. It's going to be absolutely insane. So those are the aspects. When it comes to gems, or sorry, these are the spirit boons. The gems. Now, my first instinct is Sapphire. 12% critical strike damage to crowd-controlled enemies. This is amazing. We are always having the enemy crowd-controlled, and we have guaranteed crits with Landslide. However, this is going to be useless against bosses and world bosses unless they're staggered. So I would tend to say this is the best one, but if you struggle against bosses, you might actually want to do Emerald. Increase critical strike damage to vulnerable enemies. We have a consistent source of vulnerability with Storm Strike, and there's also something in the Paragon board that gives you consistent vulnerability. So Emerald could be the better choice as well. So either Sapphire or Emerald. Probably Emerald's better. It's going to end up being better in the late game for sure. When it comes to armor, it's a tough call between Ruby or Sapphire. So 3% damage reduction while fortified. I mean, a flat damage reduction is pretty crazy. Like, that's very, very defensive, right? I think this is very strong, but also I think it's very defensive. And Ruby is defensive and offensive, right? By increasing our maximum life, we're also increasing the damage of our overpowers. So there's synergy there. We're not just playing like fully defensive. We're not sacrificing damage. We're actually getting some nice synergy by increasing our max life with our overpowers. And finally, for jewelry, if you just are like level 20 or below, the skull is better because armor is more impactful at lower levels, but it falls off after like level 20. They have a chart somewhere online if you really want to look it up. Once you hit level 20, though, it'll always be Diamond. Diamond will be superior to Skull in terms of mitigation. Because I don't know if you know, but the armor gives 50% of its damage mitigation to elemental resistances. So as you get more armor, you're actually going to be also helping your elemental resistances. But that's going to really fall off as you get higher level. And you're going to have to start putting things into resisting elements. And so Skull for like 1 through 20, and then in jewelry, switch it over to Diamond once you're level 20 or up. So it's a very short amount of time. You could just say short answer, just put a Diamond in there. And so that's what this looks like. Emerald, Ruby, Diamond. We've got the skill tree set up pretty nice. Let's talk about Paragon board. I actually spent way too much time on this Paragon board, and this build's weak. Every build has a weakness, and I got to tell you this build's weakness, just so you know. Bosses will be this build's weakness because we have so much centered around crowd controlled enemies. Crash Stone aspect, 40% increased critical strike damage to crowd controlled enemies. You gain resource when you crowd control an enemy. Damage from earth skills slow enemies. You deal 20% increased damage to stunned enemies. These are just some of the aspects. And then if we go to the skill tree, we've got things like Nature's Reach. We deal double damage if they're stunned, slowed, immobilized, etc. We've got Crushing Earth. Earth skills deal 15% increased damage to slowed, stunned, immobilized, or knocked back enemies. So there's so many things that give us bonus damage if the enemy is crowd controlled in the various ways. So what do we do against a boss who is going to be immune to all of these different crowd controls? Well, the answer lies within our bear skills and the bear Paragon board. Now, I actually want to thank one of the commenters. Someone recommended I check this out, and they're absolutely right. I looked at every single Paragon board that made sense for this build, and this one has the highest damage as fast as you can get. This will give you the biggest spike in damage. So check this out. So we'll start with the beginner board. Work your way right to get 10% damage on the right side. And then you move up and get this glyph called Outmatch. You deal 16% increased physical damage to non-elites and bosses. I'm like, what else is there? Champions? Like, non-elites is everything, and then a boss is an elite. So, like, I don't even know. But I'll take the 16% increased physical damage. Now, the only skill we have that doesn't deal physical damage is Storm Strike. Pulverize, Trample, Landslide. I mean, Petrify doesn't deal damage, but all those deal physical damage. So this is perfect. And it says here, grants 50% bonus to all rare nodes within range. So we get both rare nodes, which gives us resistance, willpower, damage, and willpower. And we move up here, and this is where it gets crazy. So the Paragon board we're choosing is called Survival Instincts. Okay, the Survival Instincts Paragon board. And we're going to move up left. You actually rotate it to get here, but you want to get these nodes right here. 12.5% damage to healthy enemies. 12.5% is insane. Huge. And then you get another one. So now we're up to 25% increased damage to healthy enemies right here. Another 25, so now we're up to 50% damage to healthy enemies. Insane. And then we have another one, 62.5% increased damage to healthy enemies. Now, healthy is defined as 85% health or higher. So bosses, right, they should be pretty tanky, right? Well, the way I imagine this going is you hit them with vulnerability, and then you're going to basically use Trample on them. Now, Trample gets 150% bonus damage when it's just one target. You're going to get 60% damage, 62.5% increased damage because they're healthy. Like, in my mind, I see this boss getting one shot. Like, I don't know why. I see Trample hitting incredibly hard and dealing a ton of, and you get the 20% increased damage from vulnerability. And so it's called Spearhead. It's kind of cool. Now, if they don't die instantly from this, we do get Survival Instinct. It says, well, in werebear form, you deal 1% increased damage up to 50% for every 1% difference in current life between you and the enemy. So we lose, let's say they lived, right? But maybe they're down to 50% health. We lose the 62.5% increased damage, right? But if they're 50% health or lower and you're at full health, now you have 50% bonus damage. And by the way, I didn't even mention Quick Shift also gave us 15% increased damage because we shifted into a werebear from being human. So even more damage. Then I would go back to a human with a Storm Strike, refresh vulnerability, right? And then use Earthen Bulwark, and you already got the Fortify from Trample. Now you have the Fortify from Earthen Bulwark. You should have probably like 30% of your health fortified, if not more, probably 40% with the Spirit Boon. And then you just pulverize and the boss is dead because you're just going to have 50% bonus damage plus another Quick Shift 15%, 20% vulnerability. You know, I literally think this build will two-shot bosses once you get these. You'll open up with a Trample, Storm Strike, Earthen Bulwark, Pulverize. And that's going to be a boss slaying combo right there. And it gets even better. We're going to move up here and get this glyph called Shapeshifter. It says here shapeshifting has a 20% chance to cause the skill's damage to critically strike. 20% increased critical strike. So as long as we go from a human to a werebear, we're going to get 20% increased critical strike chance. That means an overpowered Pulverize can crit, a Trample can crit, huge. And then these just are bonuses: 10% damage while in werebear, and some armor. And I got it because this gives 50% bonus to all rare nodes within range. So this is the board. If you're having trouble with bosses, go for this board, do that sequence of attacks. I think it's going to be super powerful. It's going to help you basically take down bosses if you're struggling. The other Paragon board I recommend you go after, and I didn't fill it out, is Earth and Devastation. It just makes sense. Your Earth skills deal 30% increased damage to enemies afflicted by crowd control. Pulverize is an Earth skill. It's not a nature magic skill, so it's perfect. Everything in here is Earth magic. You don't have to worry about it. I looked at Constricting Tendrils and it just doesn't make sense because Constricting Tendrils has a lot of nature magic bonuses, and you just got to remember that Pulverize doesn't get that nature magic tag. And so I actually, it's part of this mega file that's going to be in the description, but it says the Paragon boards you want to get: number 1, Survival Instincts; number 2, Earth and Devastation; number 3, Ancestral Guidance. Those are the only ones that make sense for the Earth Druid. As much as Constricting Tendrils I want to work, if you're going Pulverize as part of your build, then it just doesn't make sense. If you're not doing Pulverize, go for it. Enjoy Constricting Tendrils. You can absolutely build this a different way. But I want to go Pulverize because I think it has amazing AoE. I love Overpower. I think Overpower just is... that's why I think this is one of the best Druid builds. Check out these stats. It's literally the way the Druid was designed. Look at what Willpower does. This is the primary stat for the Druid. It says here, improves healing received by 18.5%. That's crazy. Increases overpower damage by 46.25% and increases skill damage by 18.5%. Literally, the willpower stat increases overpower damage. So if you're playing a Druid, it almost feels natural to have overpower as part of your build. And that's why I think Pulverize makes a lot of sense. That's why I think the Spirit Boon, Obsidian Slam, every 10th kill will cause your next Earth skill to overpower. And so the fact that literally just generating willpower, our primary stat as a Druid, increases our overpower damage just says to me that overpower is meant to be part of a Druid build. So that's just, I just think this is, and by the way, if you're going overpower, you should increase your max life. You should increase your Fortify. I just think this is the best possible build for a Druid, honestly. Out of everything I've gone through, it kind of touches everything and does a great job. Now, I do want to talk about the final phase of this build where we get some uniques. Number 1, you're going to want to start searching for a helmet, and you're going to want to get Vasili's Prayer. So I'll type this in. Vasili's Prayer increases damage while shapeshifted, gives you lightning resist, maximum life, spirit on kill. Max life is great, remember. It says your Earth skills are now also werebear skills, and Fortify you for Act. Fortify is perfect for our overpower build. Vasili's Prayer is making it so all of our Earth skills are werebear skills. This is actually crazy. This opens up so many doors. Like if you wanted to do something with like Aspect of the Changeling's Debt, it's like, wow, all your Earth skills can now cause poison to immediately do its full duration. Just thinking out loud here. But now that all your Earth skills are also werebear skills, it makes it so that this Paragon board over here makes even more sense, right? Plus 10% damage while in werebear form. Actually, not that one. There's one where here, plus 10% werebear skill damage. This applies to your Earth skills because Earth skills are now werebear skills thanks to Vasili's Prayer. It's called Ursine. And so a lot of synergy starts to make sense in this Paragon board beyond just this little portion once you get Vasili's Prayer. And then you're also going to want to get Insatiable Fury. It says here, werebear form is now your true form, and you gain +2 ranks to all werebear skills, which includes, because of Vasili's Prayer, all of your Earth skills. So this is sort of late game, like your build is really starting to take its final forms. I would recommend getting rid of Aspect of the Umbral to get back Ballistic Aspect that I got rid of. We can switch out. Retaliation is pretty good. But let's just put Ballistic Aspect there. Ballistic Aspect. Maybe it's not perfect, but that's basically because Ballistic Aspect, you want to keep that +2 to all Earth skill ranks as you replace your chest piece with Insatiable Fury. So now that you did this, we're going to go back to the skill tree because now we're permanently a bear. and you need to get rid of quick shift now because it makes no sense. You're constantly a bear no matter what skill you use. It's your true form. So you're getting rid of quick shift and you're getting rid of clarity. So that's perfect. And now you can actually start getting some bear passives that I love. 1 point into predatory instinct. It's a prerequisite for iron fur. You gain 9% damage reduction while in werebear form. So constantly you're going to have 9% flat damage reduction on your character. It's basically like the barbarian passive. So, you're just so much more tanky now. You can also take a point out of ancestral fortitude, put 1 point into mending, and then put points into provocation. This is really, really important because this is a third source of overpower, which is huge for this build. When you remain in werebear form for at least 25 seconds, your next skill will overpower. This is huge. So you're always going to be in werebear form. So you're going to get tons of pulverizes. You could probably take a point out of nature's reach. I like it a lot. But honestly, pulverize is slowly becoming like a melee ability. Once you get shockwave aspect, then you can use it as a fully ranged ability. But take maybe a point out of nature's reach or something like that. Actually, maybe instead of nature's reach, we'll do 1 point out of natural disaster. It's 4% damage to vulnerable enemies. So that's less impactful. But now you've got really awesome bear passives, but provocation you'd never get unless you were permanently in a bear, basically. So if you're in a bear form for 20 seconds, your next skill will overpower. And then you've got Obsidian Slam. Every 10th kill will cause your next Earth skill to overpower. And then you've also got, of course, every 12 seconds while you remain healthy, your next Pulverize will overpower. Tons and tons of overpower in this build, which I just think is meant for the Druid. Now, I think I've gone through everything. Let me just double check my sheet here. There's a third unique that you could get. Because we have in the skill tree our key passive here, Earth and Might. Damaging enemies with Earth skills has a 5% chance to, number one, restore all of your spirit. You can actually do some fun things with the Melted Heart of Selig. Ballistic aspect, and then amulet. We're going to put the Melted Heart of Selig. So check this out. Gain 30% maximum resource. Used to be 100, so it got nerfed because it was too good. In addition, when you take damage, drain 3 resource for every 1% of your life you would have lost instead. Now, you've increased your maximum life tremendously, so I don't see you losing much resource. And then also plus 30% maximum resource means that any time that the key passive Earth and Might procs, you're getting way more value. You're getting 30% more value because you're restoring all of your spirit, and your spirit pool is so much bigger. And you can increase the size of your spirit pool even further through Ancestral Guidance Paragon board nodes, which I will definitely update our master sheet with at some point. So I've talked about skill point allocation, Codex of Power, spirit boons, gems, Paragon boards, uniques. The last thing is the 2 legendary aspects I would go after that are not found in the Codex of Power. So you're going to get rid of, I would say, a lot of these are really good, but we can get rid of Aspect of Retribution because it's basically only on when you trample someone into a wall, you stun someone with Pulverize or Petrify them. And we're instead going to get Shockwave Aspect, which is really best in slot. It says here, Pulverize creates a shockwave that travels forward, dealing 90 to 130% of its damage to targets in its path. I would put this in the weapon, honestly. Shockwave aspect is probably the strongest thing we're going to have, so highly recommend that one. Definitely get that for sure. And then, we'll get rid of Crash Stone, and we're going to get Aspect of Trampled Earth. This is so strong. Trample now summons 6 Landslide Pillars of Earth during its duration that deals 70 to 80% normal damage. Trample is now also a nature magic and Earth skill. So this is so important. It makes Trample get all of the bonuses that we've been getting in it with our Earth skills. And it's also nature magic as an added bonus, but not too needed, but absolutely insane. It also summons 6 Landslide Pillars. It's crazy. Landslide does guaranteed critical strikes. This is definitely deserves to be in the weapon slot. If Shockwave Aspect doesn't, this is a huge power spike considering how powerful Trample is. And if you haven't seen this, it's disgusting. Like as your character turns into a bear and starts like trampling forward, you just see all of these pillars of earth just popping up. It's insane damage. You got to find these 2, but they're definitely best in slot for this build. Maybe you don't get the Melted Heart of Selig so that you can fit everything together. But the end game is still being formulated because it is definitely all theory crafting, and we have to go test it out and figure out 100% for sure when we go play. Now guys, don't forget, I did put together a sheet. It's in the description. It's going to show you level by level which skills to get. I got it all the way from 1 to 58 of your skill points. It's also going to show you when you should get your legendary aspects, which dungeon you can get them, which zone and which item slot you should put them into. And then it's also going to show you on a map in the Codex of Power tab exactly where you can find these Codex of Power aspects and the order in which you should get them. All of that in the description. Hope you guys enjoy. Also, if you did enjoy this video, do me a huge favor. If you could just click that like button and subscribe, that would be amazing. Thank you so much for doing that. And that's it for this video, guys. I will definitely be streaming this on June 1st, 2023. If you guys want to tune in and do this build with me, that would be awesome. But this is 100% the build I'm going to be playing. So tune in if you're interested in this build. Thanks again so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.